In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make eyes for a plush Pomsie like this one. I'm making a big plush Pomsie and I'm making resin eyes to go on the Pomsie. Say hi. This is Patches. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these large resin eyes that are perfect for a large plush animal. I'm making them to look like this Pomsie's eyes. To make the pupils of the eyes, I used black polymer clay, tiny balls of white polymer clay, 2 different round circle clay cutters, and a rolling pin for polymer clay. The first thing I'm going to do is roll my clay nice and flat, and then I cut 2 circles out of it. I used my big cutter for the first 2 circles, and then I'm going to use my small circle cutters. The reason I'm using 2 shapes is because I want to see which kind of pupil works out better in the eyes. So next what I did was I took tiny pieces of white polymer clay and I put 1 on each pupil, and that's supposed to be the light inside the eye. But you could also leave it without the white, and I'll do that later on, and then we can see which one looks better. Here I'm cutting out the 2 small circles, and when I'm finished doing this, I'm going to put them into the oven and bake them. Now always bake according to the instructions on your package of polymer clay because different clays bake at different temperatures. If you're a child, please ask a grown-up or a guardian to bake them in the oven for you. Now once my pupils have baked and cooled, I can add them to my resin. The resin you find here, you can find at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and I found this mold that I'll be using on Amazon. Now inside your box of resin, you'll find 3 little measuring cups which you can use, but I'm using my silicone resin cup, which I believe I found on eBay. When I work with resin, I like to use rubber gloves because it can be very sticky. And this resin comes in 2 parts. It has part A, which is the actual resin, and part B, which is the hardener. I'm pouring 20 milliliters into my cup, and then when I'm finished, I'm going to add 20 milliliters of the part B, which is the hardener. You have to make sure to do equal amounts of each, otherwise your resin will not cure properly. Now once I'd finished measuring my resin, what I did was I mixed it with a popsicle stick that came in the box. You want to mix it very slowly and scrape down all the edges for about a minute, just to make sure that you don't get too many bubbles. If you mix too fast, you get a lot of bubbles, although I did end up with quite a lot of bubbles anyway. Now here I'm just pouring it into my mold, and I only filled my mold about 1/4 of the way. You can't see it here, but I'll show you in the next part of the video how much I actually filled it, because I'm going to be making this eye in 3 layers of resin. As you can see in this clip here, I only filled my molds about 1/4 of the way up. Now I'm going to just get rid of the excess air bubbles using a lighter. Once I was finished getting rid of the air bubbles, it was time to add the pupils, and I decided to go with the larger of the 2 sizes. Now since they have the white light in the eyes, and they'll be upside down, I marked a little white dot on the back of them before I added them to the resin. Then I just added it gently to the resin, pressed it down a little bit because I don't want it to sink all the way to the bottom, and then I'll let it sit for an hour before I add another layer of resin onto it. Now that my first layer of resin has sat for about an hour, I'll be adding another layer. And all I'm doing is I've made my resin already and I'm putting 1 spoon on top of each of my molds. When this is finished, I'll let it sit for another hour or 2 before I actually add my final layer. To make sure that the resin gets all the way to the edges, you can push it with the end of your spoon or a toothpick. Get rid of excess air bubbles with a long lighter like this one, or gently blow on them with a straw. Then let your resin sit for about 2 hours. Now that my resin has sat for about 2 hours, it's time to add the final layer. So for my final layer, I have resin mixed up already, and to that I'll be adding some blue glitter. So I have my thick glitter, and the thick glitter tends to sink to the bottom of the resin, and then the fine glitter actually tends to be dispersed throughout the resin. So it just depends what kind of look you want, but I'm going to use kind of a mixture of both of them. Now first I'm going to use my thick glitter, and I don't really measure this, I just shake it in there and see if I like the consistency of it and how shiny it looks. And after this I'll be adding some of my fine glitter. Now it's time to pour it on top of the resin. And so you just gently pour it right on top there. The good thing about the glitter in it is if you have a lot of air bubbles, they won't really show as much because the glitter will actually hide some of the air bubbles. So you don't have to worry that much on this layer about the air bubbles. Also, this side of the eye is actually going to face the plush. Now this part of the video I was experimenting using some gold glitter with my third mold, but I didn't really like the way the gold turned out. I like the blue more, and so that's why I didn't really explain much about the gold glitter. But as you can see here, I'm just pouring it on my final mold. The next clip just shows you what the glitter looks like from the top. So now I'll set it aside and leave it 24 hours to cure. It's been 24 hours and now it's time to unmold my resin and show you what they look like. Now I'll be taking out these two eyes, and later on when I'm finished I'll actually be making two more eyes that don't have the white in the eyes, so they'll just be plain black pupils. And then at the end of this I'll just add the clip just to show you the two different ones and see which one you like more. Now it's time to unmold the last set of eyes that I made, and these were made with the plain pupils I made off camera. And I really like how these turned out. I got a little air bubble in there, but it actually looks like the light in the eye. So I think I'll actually be using these eyes on my Pomsie plush. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to click the link in this video if you want to see how I make my large Pomsie stuffed animal. Thanks for watching.